Hello, and welcome to this restorative practice designed to assist reducing discomforts from your moon cycle, from your menstrual cycle. Certainly be a beneficial practice for everyone, whether or not you get your period or you have your period. So I hope you enjoy. We're going to use a number of props potentially for this practice as it's restorative. We want to use props to feel really held and supported. So I would suggest having a bolster, a couple of blankets, a chair might come in handy, at least a couple of blocks, if you have an eye pillow, and if you have some sort of weight. Here at the studio, we have weighted rice bags that are about 10 pounds. Okay, we're going to begin with Supta Baddha Konasana, or reclined cobbler's pose. So for this, we'll utilize the bolster and a blanket and a couple of blocks. And maybe also your eye pillow if you're working with one. So you can lay your bolster lengthwise, the same direction the length of the mat is. Have your blocks handy. Those are going to support your outer knees or your outer thighs. And then we'll place the blanket toward the top head side of the bolster to support the head. You could also add more support, particularly if you had more blocks or another bolster or pillows or blankets. You could go for an inclined plane here with one or a couple blocks. I usually stack a couple. One on the lower setting, one on the mid setting, and that's going to be really nice also. So it's up to you how much you support. It partially depends on how your body feels in terms of its ability and willingness to surrender to gravity. You could also have blankets to support your arms. This would be especially helpful if your shoulders are tight. Okay, so we definitely want to create this sensation, this feeling that the ground is coming up to meet us and support us, rather than feeling of hanging in the joints or a big stretch. We're not going for a big stretch with restorative yoga. We're going for restoration and rejuvenation. As you position yourself, you could be right up against the bolster with your hips on the sitting bones on the floor, and then the length of your spine on the bolster. Some of you, that might feel uncomfortable for the back. You want to scoot back a little bit so the bottommost ribs align with the bottom of the bolster. Depending on the height of your bolster, that still might feel like too much for your back, in which case I would put a blanket here under my sitting bones so there's a more gradual transition for the spine. Bringing soles of the feet together. Lying back onto the bolster, adding support under your head as needed. So the front and the back of the neck are long. We don't want to feel like the chin is jutting up into the sky, to the air. We also don't want to feel like it's jamming into the chest. Organize the blocks so that you feel at most a mild stretch in the inner thighs. We definitely don't want a big stretch here. As you rest here in this shape, you might feel the inner thighs open, and then you might feel like you want to lower the blocks down a little bit. That's fine, but it's important not to get into this mode of, I've got to go for more. So as you settle in, make any adjustments that help you feel more comfortable, more supported. If the arms don't easily reach the ground, I'm going to put blankets or pillows underneath the arms so there's not strain or tension in the shoulders. If you wear eyeglasses, I suggest you remove them. That will help the mind to quiet down. I like to kind of tuck my shoulder blades under to give a more lifted and expansive feeling in my chest. Palms can rest up or down. Arms can be more down alongside the body, particularly if the shoulders feel resistant, or if shoulders feel happy and healthy, you can take arms out wider or even drape the arms overhead. One other thing to consider is there's not a need to have the feet as close as possible to you. You could slide the feet even further away to make more of a diamond shape. In general, we're going for that place in the middle where we're not sliding the feet far away and we're not drawing the feet in super close, that place in the middle. Let's see what works best for you. Once you get organized and feel like you found your place, the invitation is to drop into stillness. Close your eyes or turn your gaze downward. Oftentimes when we close the eyes, especially if the mind is still active, it can be hard to keep the eyes closed, kind of fluttery. And if that happens for you, with the eyes closed, you can turn your gaze down toward your heart. And now notice where the body meets the floor and the props. If you can, sensing any asymmetry. Maybe one side of the body feels heavier. And notice with kind attention. If you have a lot of monkey mind going on right now, if the mind is going from one thought to the next rapidly, it might be helpful to take some longer, deeper breaths, calming the nervous system and giving the mind the breath to focus on. And even if the mind isn't like a monkey going from branch to branch, you can stay focused on your breath. You don't need to breathe any particular way. You can just let the breath flow naturally. Notice the expansive quality of this shape, opening to receive. We often hold a lot of tension in the jaw and the face without even knowing it. See if you can relax your jaw, part your teeth a little bit, maybe even parting the lips. Softening all of the muscles in your face, allowing your cheekbones to widen, corners of the eyes to soften. Forehead to relax. Scan your body, notice any other places where you might be unintentionally gripping or engaging. perhaps softening and relaxing these areas too. Allow your breath to be free. That may mean a series of longer, deeper breaths. That may mean shallow breaths. That may mean a big space between breaths. Allow the breath its natural, inherent rhythm. Train awareness to be present, to be in the here and now by tracking sensation. You might notice a tingling in the fingertips, the beat of your heart, pulsation in the palms, the abdomen. Maybe there's a slight tingle in the toes. Watching your experience with curiosity, with an open mind and an open heart. And now let's make a slight adjustment in our legs, crossing at the shins. So if you can slide your feet a little more toward the opposite knees. So you are in fact crossing at the shins rather than at the ankles. What's here now? Let's switch the cross of the legs. Again, sliding your feet more toward opposite knees if you can. This side is likely to feel a little bit more awkward, maybe a lot tighter. So if that's happening for you, know that that's completely normal because we are asymmetrical beings. If you're feeling too much tension here, you could once again support your knees with your blocks or with pillows. Moving slowly to transition out of this pose. You can plant your feet, maybe extend the legs, knees need a little release. And then with knees bent, roll off to one side. Keep your head heavy. Head rises last as you push your hands into the floor to come up. Our next shape is similar to the first, but we're going to fold forward instead of lying back. Baddha Konasana, bound angle, or cobbler's pose. Some of you might want to sit up on the edge of a blanket. If your knees tend to be really high, higher than your hips when you come into this shape, then elevating your sit bones will be good for your hip flexors and for your back. Depending on your mobility, you might prefer to use a chair to support your forward fold. Alternatively, you could use bolster and maybe a couple of blocks. Almost any chair will do. I like to put a blanket over this chair because it's hard metal. Bring the soles of the feet together. Again, just like for our previous shape, you don't need to drag the feet as close as you can. Feet could be further away. Maybe finding something in the middle. Folding forward, resting forearms, resting head. Alternatively, using a bolster and maybe a block or two, or maybe just the block. Could fold and rest your forehead on the block, or you could elevate your bolster with your blocks, creating something like this. Okay. I'm gonna go back to the block setup. That works best for me. I often like to put a blanket on top of the block for a little extra, just a little extra support and more softness. Particularly if you have a hard wooden or cork block, definitely suggest adding some padding. And then if you have the eye pillow, we'll use it here at the nape of the neck. Folding forward, nestling that eye pillow right at the back of the neck. Perhaps putting blocks under the knees again, if there's too much sensation without support. You can let the background. What we want to be sure that we're not doing is folding without bringing the pelvis with us. So if you tend to roll back and you're folding forward like this is going to put some strain on your intervertebral disc. So you would want to elevate in order to tilt your pelvis forward. On the other end of that spectrum are the folks who are really flexible and their sitting bones lift up off the ground when they fold forward. So you want to keep your sitting bones on the ground as you fold. Those are some things to look out for and see if they're true for you, how you can adjust to create a more effective and healthy pose. We don't want to push the knees down. We just want to let the knees drop down as they are ready. Feel the space across your back. You might feel sensation of your breath in your back. And once again, we're tracking our experience through sensation. And utilizing the breath to help keep awareness in the here and now. You can press your hands down, root down through your sitting bones to rise. Setting your props aside for a moment. And just extending the legs out in front. It might feel good to shake out the legs a little bit. Our next shape is similar, Upavishta Konasana. This is a wide-legged forward fold. We'll fold with straight or relatively straight legs. So if your knees don't want to straighten all the way, you can put little pillows or little blankets underneath your knees. And when you fold, again, we don't want to feel a big stretch, but the stretch we do feel, mild stretch, we want to feel in the backs of the thighs. So when you get into position, if you're feeling it a lot in the backs of the knees, then I suggest you bring the legs a little closer together. Okay, you don't have to go as wide as you can. Again, we're going to use the same kind of setup. It's either going to be the chair and this kind of a fold forward, or the bolster, perhaps on an inclined plane, or a block or a stack of blocks. And you can use your eye pillow on your neck once again. for a little extra soothing. If your tendency is to be shifted back, you have a hard time folding forward, again, we're going to elevate the sitting bones and or perhaps stay upright. You could even do this with your back against the wall if it's hard to stay upright. We don't want to fold forward when the pelvis is dropping back. We're putting the discs at risk. So we're hinging from the hips to fold. And once again, if you're at that other end of the spectrum where your sitting bones tend to roll up toward the ceiling, we want to bring them back down so there's a stretch for the back. This is applicable. These two potential alignment issues are applicable to all forward bends. About 1 more minute here. Resting in awareness. To come up, you can press your hands down. Slowly raise the spine to stack your vertebrae. Set your props aside. And then help the knees to bend. Hands to the inner knees, helping the knees to bend. And once again, extending legs straight out in front and maybe shaking the legs out a little bit. Next, we're going to come into a supported child's pose. We'll use the bolster, and if you have your weighted bag, we'll use that. Could also use the eye pillow on the neck like we've been using it. We'll place the bolster lengthwise to match the length of your mat. And it's up to you. Here's some alternatives for propping up. You could place one block at the far end, or you could place one block at either end, or you could use no blocks. I tend to go for the no block setup, but I wanted to show you the alternatives. So big toes generally touch here and knees wide. You want the bolster down between the legs, and then you come forward. If you've got that gap, you can let your arms come underneath the bolster. So the tighter, the stiffer you're feeling, the more you want to elevate and support yourself, elevate and support with the props. If you're using the weight, it's going to go very bottom of the lower back, pretty much on the sacrum. Could also turn it the long way and have it the length of the spine. I really like it here to help ground the hips back and down. This is not a long hold here. We'll do maybe 1-2 minutes each side, meaning halfway through, we'll turn the head in the other direction. Feel your breath in your back body. Let's turn the head in the other direction. Bring your head back to center. You can slide your weight off of your lower back. Press your hands down to come up. Set the bolster and the props aside for a moment. And you might want to stretch out your legs here from tabletop. Our last pose is a supported Shavasana. We'll use the bolster and the eye pillow and maybe a blanket as well. Thin support for the blanket to go underneath your head so the chin's not jutting up and it's not jamming down. You can place your bolster underneath your upper thighs. Some like to support their lower legs in Shavasana. That's a nice alternative. It doesn't really work for my body, but if it works for yours, then enjoy that. So with the bolster, you can place it right up against the top of the hamstring, base of the buttocks. And now the eye pillow will actually go over the eyes. Might be helpful to tuck your shoulder blades under you. Elongate your tailbone toward your feet. Palms can rest up or down. Settling in to stillness. Bones heavy and sinking. Weight of the body dropping down into the floor. Full surrender to gravity. Nothing to do. Enter a state of non-doing, a state of simply being. Resting here in awareness. And now invite your breath to deepen. Wiggle your fingers. Wiggle your toes. And circle the wrists and the ankles. And then take a full body stretch. Bend your knees and roll to your side. Head stays heavy, rises last. Pushing hands down, coming up to a seat. Thank you for sharing your time and your practice with me. Peace be with you. Namaste.